Can the government make you buy an electric vehicle? They're owned by so few, but subsidized by all. So the big question is, can the government make you purchase an electric vehicle? The media is constantly talking about electric vehicles and that everybody is buying them. That's not exactly true. Only 2% of consumers are purchasing electric vehicles. It's different in every country. But there are some things that you may not know about. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to have car smarts and get some information you won't get anywhere else, make sure to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so that you don't miss anything. The federal and state government have been very generous with your tax dollars. If you're looking to buy an electric vehicle, it's $7,500 tax credit, and each state might have $2,000, $2,500, and your company may offer something as well. And if you're going to purchase an electric vehicle, you certainly don't want to miss out on these opportunities. Some manufacturers, such as General Motors and Tesla, have sold enough vehicles that they've phased out of that $7,500 tax credit, so it's important to keep that in mind. Each manufacturer is offering some sort of discount to keep you interested in their vehicles. Top energy officials in states like New York and Massachusetts and many others are very concerned because they're raising the burden on poor people because these tax credits are paid for by all residents. So if you live in the state, the tax dollars that would go for education, roads, and whatever else you might want them to go for is going toward giving somebody a tax credit. Another impact that you may not be thinking about is, where is all this money coming from? So you're probably saying, well, just charge companies more taxes to pay for this. Well, they already are, and utilities are taking those taxes and transferring them on to you, the consumer. So in every state that is offering a tax credit or offering some sort of infrastructure being built for charging stations, it's got to be paid by somebody. So the utilities charge you more, and it causes the cost of electricity and other utilities to go up. So in reality, you're not just paying for that out of your regular tax dollars to give basically a donation to those people who can afford an electric vehicle, but you're also paying extra in every single utility that you use. What's interesting is that people that have low-income housing or those people that truly can't afford to purchase an electric vehicle are the ones that are getting the most burden. They're building electric charging stations all across the state in areas that everybody can use. There is a fee for that. So they're charging you on the front side and on the back side. So electric vehicles are actually costing every single consumer more money than they might expect. When you take a look at who's really buying these electric vehicles, they happen to be wealthier people that make well over $100,000 a year, and that obviously is not everybody. So you are now funding wealthy people to purchase electric vehicles. I really don't see how that helps everybody because still electricity comes from either natural gas or coal, and the cost of building these vehicles also costs more. And I've discussed that in other videos, and you can check that out up here. One thing that's interesting to note is the state of Massachusetts and now New Jersey is talking about offering a discount on second-hand hybrid vehicles. And that might help you look for a used plug-in, but that would only be on a plug-in hybrid. Now, there are some other benefits to owning a plug-in. I've discussed that in the past. You can get into HOV lanes, and there's other benefits, but there's also some negatives as well. My second point is something that might be of interest to many of you. EV drivers don't pay for gas taxes, right? Because they plug in, they get the electricity they need. Yes, they pay for electricity, but they're not paying for the usage and the impact on the road surfaces. So people that buy gasoline cars or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, PHEVs, they still fill up with gasoline and they ride on the roadways. Well, states are getting wise to that. The state of Oregon and many others are going to start charging you a by-the-mile tax. So whether you buy a plug-in car like a Tesla or a Bolt EV or a Nissan Leaf, they're going to start nailing you on a federal level and on a state level for use tax because of the impact to the roads still need to be repaired. Remember, electric vehicles typically weigh more than gasoline-powered vehicles, and the damage to the roadway means that you're going to pay for it as well as everybody else. In addition to the road use taxes, there needs to be an infrastructure. So as you drive from east to west coast or wherever you are, there's a place to plug in at every gas station. Well, someone's got to pay for that. And it's not going to be the gas station because it costs millions of dollars to do this. So who's funding it? The government is subsidizing it. And where does that come from? Utility companies. So utility companies are starting to raise the prices of their utilities so that you have an infrastructure to charge, just like they may have done back in the gasoline tax days. This is something that you need to keep in mind, that if you're purchasing an electric vehicle, that they're just going to keep taxing you one way or the other, whether you buy gasoline or electric. A recent congressional study found that 78% of the burden on all of this infrastructure and taxes is coming down on low-income people. People that are having trouble keeping their vehicle on the road and certainly can't afford a used or even a second-hand plug-in vehicle because of the cost of the electricity. I'm not saying we should not charge them, because how do you define who pays and who doesn't? Everybody has to pay, the rising tide theory. But it's important to note that if they raise everyone's taxes and you're not using this service, then you're paying for someone else to use it. And that kind of frustrates a lot of consumers. I don't know, does that frustrate you? I'm sure you have some comments that you can put down below on that. My third point is extending the tax credit and increasing the cap. There are some politicians that want to offer even more so that people will purchase electric vehicles. Well, unless you're giving them to you, most people aren't going to consider that. Remember, what's the number one selling vehicles? Pickup trucks and SUVs. The thought behind extending the tax credit would mean that buyers might consider purchasing an electric vehicle. Well, with the cost of gasoline being so low, they're making their choices, like I've said, SUVs and pickup trucks. And if the gasoline prices go higher, which we can only guess at this point because no one knows what the future truly holds, consumers are still going to make their choices. Each time the government presses their thumb on the scales, trying to force you to buy something you may or may not want, that also comes at a cost. Manufacturers are not making any profits. There is not one car manufacturer on this planet who has made one single dollar of profit on a plug-in electric vehicle. So why are companies producing products and they're not making any profits? How do they pay their bills? Well, that's a really good question, because the federal government is putting pressure on manufacturers to produce products because of pressure. It's not social pressure, it's government pressure. They want more electric vehicles. But you know what's interesting? You think, well, no one's going to buy gasoline. Well, let's be honest with ourselves. Every bit of clothing you have, or the water bottles you're drinking out of, literally everything you touch has petroleum or fossil fuels in it. And a lot of that is also used to power electric. Each time the government puts their thumb on the scales, it costs you money. That's every single person watching and people in this whole entire country. But it also impacts the companies that hire a lot of people. And if they're taking a loss, they're going to raise the price of all vehicles. And the cost of electric vehicles are not that low. And they could go lower. But again, mass production will help, but there's still no profit margin. And if you're not making profit, why are they making it? That's an important question that has to do with government regulations. They're putting pressure on manufacturers to produce something they're not making any money on. What's interesting, no matter how much the press and everybody online talks about electric vehicles are so popular, polling has showed they're not popular. Polling has showed you don't want to spend more money on your utilities. You don't want to spend more money at the pump, and you don't want to give people that did purchase electric vehicles your money because they should use their own money to pay for this. The price of gasoline is really low, so people are making their choices, whether it's gasoline or diesel, plug-in hybrid, mild hybrid, or plug-in vehicles. You get to make your choice. The government cannot make you purchase a vehicle that you don't want. That's the most important thing to know. If you got value from this video, give it a like, put your comment down below, make sure to share it with your friends. I'm sure there's going to be some great comments. We're just looking to start the conversation. We appreciate your support on our Patreon page, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Check out some of those car reviews as well.